clap again?
No.
No, we don't need to clap.
Here we are on yet another episode of the Albritton Letters.
But Avis in charge.
Yeah. All right, Avis, go ahead and introduce everybody. This is Avis. Avis, introduce everybody.
After you introduce.
Don't forget me.
He is Albritton.
Don't
Here
forget
we
to
have
introduce
here
me.
we have Lloyd, and here we have Philip, and I be's Avis.
And what are we,
And
Lloyd?
And I'm so glad to be here. Huh?
What are we?
And we are the Albritton Letters, or the brothers.
Well, okay, you had it right
The
first.
program is the Albritton Letters.
Yeah. Hey, I got some information from an old companion of yours, Britannica. Didn't you used to sell Britannica Encyclopedia?
I did for a short time. I sold several encyclopedias. Britannicus was one of them.
I figured you had. That's why I used that as my source for information here, because if you were selling it, it was probably a reputable source of information, and they still have.
Well, that used to be the
No
Cadillac Encyclopedia.
That's what I mean.
Oh yeah.
And so I pulled it off the internet from Britannica website.
Okay. Actually, the one I sold the most of was Collier's Encyclopedia.
Okay. Well, again, you get off topic. You go into another branch.
We only
He
care
thought
about.
you were talking about him. We're going to talk about Lloyd now.
Did y'all talk about me yet?
Okay. What's our subject for today?
Our subject for today is a discussion of shoes and footwear.
All right.
Yes.
Now, according to Britannica,
You looked it up on me?
yeah, according
We're supposed to come equally armed here. You're not supposed to have done your research through
Well,
encyclopedia. Avis and I are at a disadvantage here now.
I'm not using my research as something to talk about. I'm using it for us to launch from.
Oh,
When
I see.
Just
What's-
try to ignore Lloyd and just proceed with the program.
Whatever you say, Philip.
Well, Britannica says the wearing of shoes goes back, according to climatic evidence, up as long as 50,000 years ago.
Really?
People were wearing
You
shoes.
got to be kidding me.
Who'd have thunk you?
But, however, the only actual evidence of shoes that have been found was 9,000 years ago in California.
Well, if there's no evidence, it didn't happen.
They call it climatic evidence.
Yeah.
I think that means that they have found, like, places where civilizations were in really cold weather, and so they must have had shoes.
Footprints in the snow would be a
Circumstantial.
dead giveaway if it
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
footprint of a boot or a...
Well, at some point, if your feet get cold enough, and you're
Well-
slaying the furry animals,
Yeah, you
you
would
would
have
think
to-
about wrapping one around your foot.
You're going to put something
Making
on
a
your
boot
feet.
of some
Yeah,
type, yeah.
that's the climatic evidence they're talking
Even
about.
a dumb caveman.
Even though we don't have actual evidence, except for about 9,000 years ago, they were wearing shoes.
We know that.
Yeah.
Well, they kept pretty poor records 50,000 years
Well,
ago, so they wouldn't be able to
during
write
the-
anything down for us.
During the Kassite period, which was 1600 to 1200 BC, in Mesopotamia, people were wearing soft shoes.
And where's that
The mountain
for?
people near Iran,
Oh,
the border of
okay.
Iran, and it was called Babylonia then.
Mhm.
But it was just a simple wraparound leather wraparound shoe, like the Indians wore here early. And then the Middle Ages is like 500 to 1500 AD. During the Middle Ages, moccasin types of untanned leather were worn, and later they became becoming buckled or tied around the ankle. And it says it was probably about 1305 when Edward I decreed the size of a shoe to be 3 barleycorns. 3 barleycorns equals 1 inch, and so they established the size of shoes at that point.
I thought barleycorn was that stuff we used to drink on Saturday night.
Oh, they make it from that barleycorn. That's
Oh.
what they make.
Hmm.
And then Romans, the Romans were the first ones to invent left and right shoes. They made them for left foot and right
Made
foot.
them all the same, yeah.
And then in the 17th century Europe, boots were generally worn. Shoes had moderately high heels and were often decorated with rosettes with lace and ribbons on them, men's and women's shoes. In America, men and women wore stout leather boots and shoes with a moderate heel. And then in the 18th century, they were decorated with buckles, gold and silver buckles on the top of them. By 1760, the first shoe factory appeared in Massachusetts. So they were starting to make them by 1760, and the shoes began to be produced in quantity. It was not until the 19th century, however, that's the 1800s, We got a noise in there. And the
I'm
development
going to
of...
get up and go shut the door. May I?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll just keep reviewing this with Avis. The development of modern machinery, like the sewing machine, then shoes were made more quickly and inexpensively. And then in the 20th century, shoes began to be made in many different styles and materials and other things. It was all because of technological development that shoes developed, but they were worn, according to this, as long as 9,000 years ago.
Well, they were a
Their
matter
feet.
of necessity, you would think.
They weren't just going barefoot like animals, you know.
Well, you know,
It wouldn't take long to figure out you need something on your feet, though, if you get depending on where you live or where you're at.
Well, unless you were an animal or like, you
Yeah.
know.
well, Avis can tell you, having been a former Marine or still a Marine, is whatever they say. It was in the Marine Corps. That in the Marines they teach you that your feet are your most important part of your body in combat. Got to keep that change of socks in your pack. Take good care of your feet because you can get that foot rot and stuff. And you're
Well, you mentioned in that
you're
letter we
disabled
talked
from
about in the first episode. We talked about immersion foot.
immersion foot. Yeah.
You couldn't remember what that was, but apparently that's a foot.
Well, they had that was really bad. I did a piece for the VA program on World War One, and that was trench warfare, and there was nothing but slogging around in those muddy trenches all the time.
Is that where they got the term trench foot?
I think so. And foot disease was a major, disability or injury during World War One, more than any other war, because they were slugging around.
It
all that.
would hamper your combat effectiveness, just like in the Civil War. Everybody got diarrhea and they couldn't fight. You can't travel. You can't march. You can't go to the enemy. You got to be able to walk and march.
That's right. So protection, and we talked. We had a former program. In fact, Philip, you brought this up. Do we really want to do another program on footwear? Because we've already done another program on fashion and fads. But this, I wanted to go a little bit beyond fashion and fad. I bought a pair of shoes recently. They call they're on the internet now, being touted as what do they call them?
Barefoot shoes?
As barefoot shoes.
Oh yeah, you told us about those.
And I was telling you about that. And so, according to the internet ads that they put on there, you can take a barefoot shoe and it's kind of like a tennis shoe. You can wad it up and tie it in a knot or whatever. But that's not really. When I went to investigating, I went to the shoe store and I asked the man, and I said, what is a barefoot shoe? I'm looking to see what these barefoot shoes look like. And he said, well, a barefoot shoe, that's the kind of shoe that
You wear barefoot without socks.
you wear without socks. He said, you wear them without socks. Well, they'll tell you all kind of stuff at the shoe store.
They'll sell you shoes, yeah.
That didn't sound right to me, so I did a little further research on it. And what I discovered was that a barefoot shoe is a shoe that makes your foot sit on the ground much as it would be sitting if you were barefoot, which is the all natural way of standing and walking, is barefoot. That's the way we grew up out there on the Nokomis dirt roads.
Yeah,
Was barefoot.
a la natural, yeah.
And so I looked at those and I bought a pair. In fact, I have a pair right here on my foot. I'm gonna just kind of slip it off to kind of demonstrate here. This is this shoe right here. Let's see if I can hold this up here. I don't know where the camera. Okay, here's the shoe right here.
There's your camera right there.
Or my camera right here. Okay. Now this one ties. This is made by Merrill, one of my favorite brands. Now I've got a couple of pair of Merrill that are slip-ons. I've never slip-ons. You have to be careful because they won't support your foot very well. These do. These Merrills are good. These tie, but what makes them a barefoot is that the heel. If you'll notice, most shoes have a heel.
Yeah.
You'll notice when John Wayne walks, he's got that, falling forward. That's because the old cowboys, they had a long. Do you know why they had a long heel on their cowboy
Keep
boots?
the foot in the stirrup.
Keep their foot from sliding through the stirrup, right? They could push their foot and they wouldn't get caught in the stirrup. Okay, these put your heel down so that it kind of puts you back on your heel. The other thing here is you'll notice the toe. The toe is made at a slant along the line of the way your little toe goes to the big toe, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of shoes are just kind of pointed, and they crowd your toes together, and that'll kind of.
Well, in the development
it's
of shoes, I didn't recite that part of it, but back in Middle Ages, early kings and stuff, the style of shoes was pointy toes, and the king had to limit the toes got to be like 10 inches of point, and they were using them as weapons and stuff. So the king had to make an edict that they could not have points longer than a certain length, you know. And later on, a few hundred years later, I guess, they started making round toe shoes.
You know, I like loafers. Yeah, loafers, because I'm lazy, I like to just slip my foot in.
Because you're a loafer.
But they're kind of a wide. I don't like pointy-toed shoes. That's why I don't really like to wear cowboy boots. Some people swear by cowboy boots.
Like a leprechaun with little pointy toes that make you look.
Yeah, I never got used to. I never could wear a cowboy boot that I could really call comfortable.
Same here.
Comfortable.
I bought a couple of pairs before, and I never could wear them.
But now they look good. You know, particularly if you want to look like a cowboy.
Yeah. What about animals? We talked about if you back in the early days of man, as they developed from animal-like walking into a human walk.
Now I never seen a dog wearing a shoe. Although I think they do have dogs.
They have booties for dogs.
Dog boots.
I always hated seeing a dog in a fancy cowboy boots.
It impedes how fast they can run.
Yeah.
In a pair of cowboy
Yeah,
boots.
and it's a little makes it jealous a little bit.
Kind of hard to herd
I don't
sheep
have those lizard skin cowboy boots, and here's this dog walking around with these boots.
You put a dog on one of those little tiny horses, of miniature horses to ride.
Yeah,
and it don't look right.
Plus, you hear those heels clunking along, and the dog can't sneak up on them.
Yeah.
Horseshoes. Horses have shoes.
Horses have shoes. That's true. Now, there's a reason for that, and you know, I know a little bit about horses. So
protection, protects your foot.
It's for protection. It's also, it's for protection because the horse's hoof. If they walk on pavement a lot, a horse is a pretty heavy animal, and over time, that continuous impacting, their hooves will split, and they'll split and chip, and they can get into the quick part of their foot.
Yeah, well,
and go lame.
It happens to your own fingernails. Sometimes your fingernails get brittle, and they'll split, and there's nothing more painful than having a fingernail split down the middle, and that's how those horses' feet get.
Well, what about the wild horses?
Splitting
the ones that don't have the benefit of farriers and people to put shoes on them and stuff.
Well, that's a good question, Philip. That would be much like when we started school. Before we started school, we run around barefoot. We didn't even have any shoes. But when you went to school, the teacher said, well, you better start wearing some shoes to school. This is not appropriate, right? We hated it. I hated putting shoes on my feet because my feet were they were tough. And I could have continued to do that. In some cultures, I'm sure the people go barefoot. They never wear shoes if it's a warm climate.
Yeah.
They never wear shoes because that's the most comfortable way of going.
Well, in the Philippines, that's as close to not wearing shoes as I've ever seen. Is they just wear those little like shower shoes, slippers, all
those shower shoes. Yeah, just something to keep the bottom, their foot off the ground. But you know, your natural way of going. These wild horses, their feet just toughen up, okay, and they get hard and tough.
So they wouldn't split necessarily.
They would split, but if you put an animal on soft ground, now the horses that were in the mountains, the impact would chip, it would break, they would break off the loose pieces. But I don't know if you've ever watched on YouTube where a horse gets foundered and his foot goes to curving up.
Oh yeah, I've seen that on donkeys and stuff. Yeah.
Donkeys and stuff, that's when they get foundered, and when that hoof wall separates from the sole, and it starts growing up like that. But if an animal runs wild and they run on hard surfaces, it'll naturally
break them off.
Break them off. Yeah.
I guess it'd be like sanding them. They walking on it sands them even or something.
But if you put a horse out in a pasture that gets wet, it stays wet a lot, their feet will go bad. They'll go lame. Okay.
Now the title of this is Shoes and Footwear. Aside from shoes, what are other purposes? Specific purposes of different kinds of shoes that you have worn or we have worn throughout our life?
Well, you know, I mentioned this right here. This is one of my favorite little shoes. This is like a Nike tennis
Except
shoe.
for jogging, running.
It's just a little net. Yeah, it says running. I don't do much running.
But I mean,
but it's like they fit very snug. It's a little net. They're extremely lightweight, and they feel like barefoot.
Well, that's the advantage
It's
for
kinda
a
like a
runner
barefoot.
is having a light foot, light on the foot. You have, if you got some big old cloggers, you don't run in boots
That's right.
unless you want to hurt yourself because it's difficult to do. But if you're going to run fast, you need a lightweight shoe.
That's right.
You know, when
And
I was
I can almost go to bed at night and forget to take these off.
When I was a
because they're so comfortable.
teenager and a kid, I guess, you go in the store to buy shoes, you tell the clerk, I want some tennis shoes. Because they give you some sneakers, tennis shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was tennis shoes. But now you go into the store, you want tennis shoes, basketball shoes, running shoes, walking shoes. They're all very specific, specialized for what you're going to do.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if that's not more marketing than anything.
It's mostly marketing, I think.
Well, I don't know. Mountain climbing or hiking boots are definitely more rugged, made for that purpose.
Well, it gives ankle support. That's why they have come up higher up on your ankle than a regular flat shoe, to give you that support. You twist, you walk around on rocks and gravel and uneven surfaces, you're going to twist your ankle.
It's the same for
That's
motorcycle
why
boots.
you need
Motorcycles.
you need extra support.
You
and
got to have that
protection.
support and protection up your bottom part of your leg.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I hate those kind of ankle boots, though. I just can't wear them. It seems like
when you're riding a bike, you hit your ankle enough times on the side of the motorcycle or
same way with riding a horse with cowboy boots, too. They come up because of the briars and the brambles and so forth. You try to ride a horse in the woods or out, you'll get your ankles and legs all scratched up, because it's just all kind of weeds and stuff that'll scratch them up. But those leather boots are intended to, you're looking at the time,
Yeah.
17 minutes, we're at 17 minutes. But the boots were made for that special purpose. If a cowboy had to get off and walk, he's in trouble because trying to walk very far with those high heel boots,
Yeah, they're not
it
designed
doesn't
for
work
that.
too good.
Yeah.
Are sandals and slippers like we was talking about in the Philippines? Are those considered shoes?
Now, people, these little rubber flip flops that
That's what I'm
American,
talking about.
that
Is that a
Americans,
shoe?
that's just designed to keep a rock from hurting your foot. I think it doesn't give any kind of support at all.
It's footwear, but I'm not sure I'd call it a shoe. It's footwear.
It's more of we call them a shower shoe in the Marines.
Yeah.
Keep from spreading fungus from your foot to everybody else.
Wear it in the shower. And-
Where you shower.
But in
shower
those places where they wear those kind of shoes, they don't wear no shoes in the shower. Those come off. They don't even wear them in the house. They kick them off at the door and walk in barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
So their feet are a little more tougher than probably what ours.
Do they
are.
do that in the Philippines?
Yeah.
Kick their shoes
Oh,
off
yeah.
at the front door?
Yeah,
No, that's an Oriental custom, is it not?
Asian. It's
Asian
it's
custom.
an Asian thing, I think.
They do that in Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii, and
Yeah, you go into a store in the Philippines to buy some sneakers or shoes, whatever, and the variety of shower shoes, those little rubber slippers, the variety is phenomenal. You have like a whole, like
How
20
can you
yards
have so
of
many
wall
different
of
shower
so many
shoes?
different kinds of shower shoes.
Yeah, and they're graded on a level kind of like we do with sneakers with Nikes and
Yeah.
Pegasus, this, and those slippers have got the premium slipper and the poor people slipper, but they look the same.
they all look about the
Yeah,
same.
but they got a name on it. It's like Nike.
Are the expensive ones more durable?
Usually less durable. The good ones are the cheap ones.
Well, that brings me to my question I had. What are shoes made from? What's the we already talked about some of them.
Leather predominantly. But a
Even
lot of
now,
it-
even today, the leather is the main thing.
Well, those shoes I just showed you here, that's a fabric and some kind of rubber. I don't see any leather in this at all. No. But
It has
historically,
evolved into being more man-made products as the business has developed. They're more man-made, more durable things than leather. So they've learned how to make things that are better than leather.
but now work shoes are, even work shoes, there's some leather in them, but they're like nylon, some kind of rugged fabric.
for the comfort around your foot or your ankle or whatever.
Let air through or something. But I think the most rugged shoe, like Western boots and work boots, it's mostly leather still, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Even the soles? The soles are made?
Well, most of the soles on shoes nowadays are not leather.
Well, that's the point I was trying to make. It's because they've found something that can be produced that's better than leather as far as wear.
That's right, and they can put all kinds of different
slippery proof. You wear leather boots around, you're going to slip all over the
design. They can put designs in with molds and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Leather is
like
just
tire tread patterns.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
even the old shoe shops, you can find some still around, and they can't fix these new shoes. They can't repair them.
Yeah, they're all
because
glued
they're
together.
molded and glued together.
Well,
but,
on church shoes, dress shoes, and there's a lot of shoes still made with leather soles because
That's
I've
true.
seen them.
Most
They're layers of leather and they're sewn together. You look on the bottom of them, you can see the thread.
Yeah.
Where the threads must be a heck of a sewing machine to go through that thick.
It takes a heavy-duty sewing machine. You have to do that. You can't do it on a regular.
Yeah,
sewing
you couldn't
machine.
sit there and stick it in there with your hand.
There's a little shoe shop over in Flomaton near where we live here. Y'all know where Flomaton is. It's been there since I was a kid. I think the son or grandson still runs it.
Is it down there where the jewelry store is?
I don't know where the jewelry
downtown
store is.
Flomaton.
Down there by the bank?
I think it's the only place you can
Across
find
from-
Red Wing boots. Is that?
But they're still there. Yeah, and they'll do certain shoe repairs.
Yeah.
But I don't think they really make a living. I think they just come down there to hang out, mostly. Maybe sell some shoes.
Can the shoes you wear or the footwear you use, can it have a bearing on your health? Can it affect your health?
Oh, absolutely. That's why this barefoot shoe has become so popular, because people are wearing. You take like women in their high heel shoes. Now those are made of plastic and all kinds of stuff, and they got that long stiletto heel.
That's just for style, though.
The style, but a lot of models or women, office workers, they get develop real terrible back pain from wearing those shoes, and plus their toes, they get corns and all kind of rub spots because those are not made for comfort.
Well, those were first
Terrible.
I think those high heel shoes for women were made to accentuate the leg muscles, because you have to use if you're going to walk around in high heels, you use a certain number of muscles that you wouldn't ordinarily use wearing a regular tennis shoes or running shoes, and that's what it was, a man-made
To make the
phenomenon
woman's leg
to
prettier.
make, right, to make the women's legs
Flex the
pretty.
muscles.
Right, to make their legs muscle up and look and more accentuated when they're walking around.
Well, they had a little note here about the women's shoes.
Yeah.
It says after the 18th century in America, women's dress shoes copied those in France and England, and were made of brocade and had a French heel, and usually a buckle to protect the shoe. Mm-hmm. And then the heels, I think, just got higher and higher for that style purpose.
Yeah, once they saw what it did for a woman's legs, then they started, it'd make her legs look even better if we had higher heels. So they just put her in higher and higher heels. That's why hookers wear high heels.
It ain't for their health.
That ain't for their health. So they show off their legs,
How about that?
their leg muscles.
You read that somewhere?
I just know some stuff.
I know stuff. What about them women's legs? You ain't been hanging around down on the red light district.
Well, no, but if it hadn't been invented yet, I would invent a high heel because their legs do look good in them high heels.
You sorry you didn't think of it?
Yeah,
What
I
about
wish
just average shoes like we wear? Your day-to-day shoes, you know.
men's shoes are made for comfort because we're lazy. We
I know,
just like
but
to sit in there.
does it have a bearing on our health at all, other than our foot health?
It does. You can get heel contusions and all sorts of
Oh, yeah.
foot problems from the wrong
You
shoe.
get feet problems, and like we were talking about with the Marine Corps, you got to protect your feet, keep them in good health,
Right.
because it can lead to it just travels up the leg.
Well, you know, a
Get
few
blood
years ago,
poisoning or something.
I developed that fasciitis. What's it called?
Plantar
Fasciitis.
Yeah.
And I had to go to the podiatrist doctor, and he developed me some of those inserts, custom made for my feet, and they're rigid, and they keep the middle of your foot with that arch in it, because that's what happened to me. My arch kind of dropped, and so it caused fasciitis because that bone in there, that tendon, and it comes out in your heel of your hand. The pain is excruciating. So I've been wearing those for 20, 25 years now, and I haven't had any other problem with fasciitis because they keep my foot in that shape of the curve of that tendon that goes along the bottom of your foot.
And that's the health issue with footwear.
So if I had kept doing that, eventually I would have not been able to walk with sore heels. You know? But anyway.
But women's shoes are not all fashion. Our grandma would tell us she used to wear those little flat flapper kind of soft.
Little house shoes.
Little house shoes.
Oh yeah.
Women get older, they quit caring about fashion. They go to something comfortable like that.
Aves and I were talking about this the other day. If I were like an entrepreneur, I could think up something that would sell, So I started thinking, well, what about people who only have one leg, who only need one shoe? Is there some sort of place where they can go and shop for just that one shoe? And a clearinghouse, a place on the internet. Do you know of a place like that?
You should come up with it. I don't think there is any kind of place for one-legged people.
Yeah, I'll try that.
I mean, you might get some criticism, from social media.
Well, yeah, but you're accommodating a need.
Well, but you're also bringing attention to the fact that some people only have one leg. Well, that would be kind of cruel.
Well, if I only had one leg, I'd be complaining about why I got to buy a pair of shoes.
Why do you have to buy two shoes?
I only need one shoe.
So
why not use that other shoe for somebody who only has one left leg?
Or right leg.
Well, at the shoe factory. At the shoe factory, they must have two assembly lines, one for the right shoe and one for the left shoe.
And a lot of pirates in line.
Okay. But shoes are, I will say this, back when I was younger, I started out, didn't have any shoes. Then started school, and we had one pair, and we put them away when we got home. And even as I got to be an adult, I had one pair of Sunday shoes, and then maybe a pair of everyday shoes, right? Maybe two pairs of shoes. But over the years, I have become quite a shoe fan. I probably got more shoes than most women now, because I just love shoes. And every time I go to the shoe store, I try on a different pair of shoes. And if I got any money, I buy them. But I love shoes, and I like switching off my shoes from time to time. But I mostly like comfort. At the age I am now, in my, what did you call me, Philip, a septuagenarian or something like that?
Well, anybody over 70.
Anybody over 70. Now that I'm a septuagenarian, I like comfort. And what looks good to me is what looks comfortable.
I think the word you're looking for is a shoe whore.
A shoe whore?
Yeah.
Could be, yeah. I'm a male gigolo. I got more shoes than a male gigolo nowadays.
I mean, you're sextipetary, all that, whatever you described yourself, what you're looking for was, you should have just said, I'm just a shoe whore.
Yeah, well,
that
would have covered it.
Yeah, I didn't want to say.
Could we go back to primitive existence? You think we could?
We got 29 minutes, so
okay, our time is up. But could we go back to a time when we don't have shoes? Could we adjust to not wearing shoes?
It'd be hard.
It'd be like those horses out there running around without no shoes. We would adjust.
Once you get used to a certain, that would be like getting rid of the remote. Would you like to go back to a TV without a remote? Would you buy a TV without a remote?
Shoes is not just about what we like. It protects our feet.
I know, but it becomes a lot.
Well, if you didn't have
more than it was intended to be.
It would hurt for a while, but you'd get used to it after.
We'd devise ways.
If you had to, yeah.
Well, that's about it for today.
What does they say about, what is that old saying? Necessity is the something of
inventions, mother of invention.
Mother of invention, necessity is the mother of life.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun talking about the shoes and your feet, Lloyd.
I thought we would probably run out of material before we ran out of time.
Yeah, but we never do that.
But we never do that.
You look at who's sitting here. We ain't never gonna stop talking.
So say goodbye to the world, and until the next episode.
It's been large.
Adios.